Grand Rising, people. I hope this message finds you all well. I'm doing great. If you're new here, I go by the name Inspired Seeker, and on this channel, we discuss spirituality, we discuss personal development, we discuss narcissism. So, if any of that appeals to you, or if you feel called to, then by all means join us, and I promise you will not regret that decision. In this video, we are talking about healing, more specifically, the key to healing. And I would like to start by saying that healing is something that we all have to do, especially if you are on the awakening journey. Okay, we all have to go through the dark night of the soul, sometimes multiple times over, and that is a part of it, is healing and releasing whatever trauma that we have experienced. Okay, so I don't know what your personal experience may be, but this is something that we all have to undergo at some point, whether you have experienced narcissistic abuse or you have experienced other forms of abuse, as well as traumas that you have experienced over the course of your life. At some point, you will come face to face with these situations so you can address them and be able to move forward with your life without them hindering you. Okay. What most of us tend to do is kind of push it down or push it to the side, kind of try to ignore it. Okay. But the thing is, when we ignore these things, these situations, or these experiences, when we ignore them, they don't just simply go away. Okay, they really have nowhere to go but get stored in our energetic body. And so at some point, they resurface to be dealt with, they resurface to be addressed, they resurface to be healed and released. Okay, so no matter what it is that you have experienced, at some point you will have to go through healing. And healing is something that a good majority of us struggle with. A lot of people ask the question, how do you heal? Right? A lot of people ask the question, how do you heal? We talk about healing. How do you actually heal? Okay? And this is something that a lot of us struggle with. So I'm gonna share a tip with you guys on this, the key to actually healing and going through the healing process and getting through it successfully. Okay. Now, my way of looking at healing is sort of like taking a ice plunge. Okay, those ice plunge that athletes do, those ice bucket plunge or whatever they call those things, where you sit in the ice cold water for a period of time. Okay, this is my way of looking at healing, because if you approach it and you want to get into the water, we know the water is cold. Okay, we know the water is cold. So if you approach it and you want to get into the water with one body part at a time, you stand to suffer a lot more than someone who just jumps in and dips in right away. Okay, you get in there, you get your entire body in there. Now your body adjusts to the temperature of the water and you're good to go after that. But if you are doing it one body part at a time, you put your foot, one leg in, then that leg adjusts to the temperature, then you got to put the other leg, that other leg has to adjust to the temperature, then it's actually prolonging the process essentially. Okay, so the key to approaching your healing is simply just to do it, guys. Okay, do it, face it. Just like Nike said, just do it. Huh? A lot of us, like I said earlier, tend to avoid that experience or avoid that situation. A lot of us ignore that situation, but there's really no way around it, because no matter how much you push it to the side, or no matter how much you ignore it, it's going to end up coming right back up at some point to be healed, to be addressed. Okay, so the key to healing is essentially to lean into it. Okay, we know the situation is there, we know what the experience was like, because we went through it the first time. And some of us, depending on what your experience might have been, it feels like torture having to re-experience it all over again. Okay, but if you allow yourself to lean into it, guys, if you allow yourself to embrace it fully, you will notice that it's not gonna be as bad. Just like the ice plunge, it's not gonna be as bad after the initial touch. The initial contact may be a bit painful, but once that is over, guys, the rest is gonna be a lot easier for you. Okay, so that's my recommendation, guys. Just lean into it, allow yourself to brace it. I'm not saying it's gonna be easy, right? It's gonna be painful, guys. The initial contact is definitely gonna be painful, but once you've been able to get over that initial contact, once you've been able to get over that initial pain, guys, the rest of the process become a lot easier. Okay, so I'll encourage you guys to lean into whatever your experience may be. When these things come up to be addressed, when these things come up to be healed, guys, I'll encourage you to lean into it. I'll encourage you to step forward into it, okay, rather than avoiding it or ignoring it. I recommend simply stepping into it and allowing that initial contact to do what it's there to do, because as I said, once that initial contact, that initial pain of having to re-experience that situation is gone, once you are able to deal with that initial contact, that initial pain, guys, the rest of the process becomes easier. Okay, so that's essentially what it is that you will have to do to heal. Okay, because the longer you prolong the process, okay, the longer you avoid it or the longer you ignore it, guys, remember, the more painful it's gonna be on your part. Okay, now everybody's experience is different, and I do understand, not all of us have the same experience. Some of us have very intense experiences, and this will all depend on your unique life experience. Okay, but at the same time, the key remains the same for all of it. Okay, you're just gonna have to do it. Okay, you're just gonna have to step into it. You're just gonna have to lean into it. Okay, just like how you would get into that ice water, the ice plunge, just the same way you would dip into it with your entire body right away, guys. Simply step into it. Okay, because the more you drag it out, the more you kind of step away from it, guys, the harder it becomes for you to deal with. The more painful it becomes, because every time you're gonna have to go through it. You're gonna have to deal with it nonetheless. Okay, no matter what you do, you cannot escape it, you cannot ignore it, you cannot avoid it, guys. It's something that must be done in order for you to gain your freedom, in order for you to be able to move forward in a successful way. Okay, and so simply lean into it, guys, and be prepared to deal with it. Okay, the initial pain is the most uh it's the most painful part. So prepare yourself for it. Prepare yourself for it. And once that initial pain is gone, guys, the rest of the process becomes a lot easier. Okay, now depending on what your unique situation may be, there are certain things that you may have to do. Okay, there are certain changes that you may have to make in your personal life depending on what your unique circumstance may be. Okay, for instance, if you are dealing with narcissistic abuse, for instance, you're gonna have to make certain adjustments, maybe stop partaking in certain activities or stop going to certain places or even moving from a certain area to a whole new area, making new friends and making new routines and making new hobbies and all of those things, just so you could forget about that negative experience that you had. Okay, so depending on what your personal circumstance may be, that will dictate what adjustments you would have to make. Okay, but my point in this video essentially is to get you to understand the key to it. Okay, there's really not much else to it but to lean into it, but to step into it. Okay, know that it's painful, but also know that you have to be willing to endure that pain to live a better life. You have to be willing to endure that pain to free yourself, because what this trauma is doing is essentially keeping you down. What this trauma is doing is stopping you from living the life that you are meant to live. Okay, because it's limiting you in one way or another. Okay, so do understand, guys, it's not going to be easy, but it's definitely going to be worth it. If you have gone through the healing process, then allow me to congratulate you. And if you are just now embarking on your healing, then brace yourself. Okay, brace yourself, because it could be lonely sometimes, and it could be very painful. All right, find a support group. If you think you need the help of a professional, say a therapist or someone, by all means seek out the help that you need. Okay, or if you have a friend or a colleague that would listen to you, feel free to seek their help. Okay, because it's gonna require you to release a lot. It's gonna require you to do a lot of talking. It's going to require you to do a lot of releasing, and in some situations it's going to require you to shed some tears. It's going to require you to mourn. Okay, so seek out the help that you need. If you have someone in your corner who would listen to you, by all means seek their help and do what it is that you have to do. Okay, another thing I want to share, guys, when you're going through the process, it's good to write it out. Okay, the negative experiences, is good to write them out. Okay, if it keeps coming up, guys, that's another way of healing and releasing. Okay, write it out, write it out, write it out, and then you can tear it up or you could burn it. Okay, with the intention of releasing it out of your life, releasing it out of your system. Okay, that's another way you could use to release. All right, so as I said, guys, I wanted to share with you the key to healing, and that key is simply by stepping forward. It's simply by leaning into it. It's simply by facing it head on. Okay, I understand it may be a very painful situation for you, and I do understand that. Myself have gone through certain experiences that I had to get over. Okay, so I do understand what's involved in healing. Okay, but you have to be prepared to do the work necessary for you to get better. Okay, I cannot heal for you. All right, it's something that we all have to do on an individual level. Okay, so do embrace that opportunity if it do comes for you, and heal and release whatever traumas that you may have. All right. So if you found value in this, then I ask that you like and share the message, and also stick around because there should be another video or playlist popping up somewhere here. Stick around and get more information on the awakening journey. Other than that, I'll leave this here, guys. Until next time, peace, love, and more life.